Nicolas Cage used to make some really fantastic movies, despite the fact that he has since turned into a meme of his previous self.
Good call, baby doll.
Fans are just waiting for Cage to receive a fantastic character that he can truly sink his teeth into once more because of his ability to bring comedy.
They did it because it excited them.
Don't you... I got nothing in common with them, with you. Don't you talk to me!
Action, and a touch of oddity to every role he's ever performed. Until then, here are some details about Nicolas Cage's extensive filmography that give the quirky actor just a little bit more context. 10. Gone in 60 Seconds. The cast of Gone in 60 Seconds included Angelina Jolie, Nicolas Cage as Memphis Reigns with blonde hair, and a story that was similar to a toned-down Fast and the Furious film. And Eleanor, the 1967 Ford Mustang GT500, is also impossible to forget. Eleanor was originally intended to be a Ford GT40, and she was created by Chip Foose, Steven Stanford, and Jeff Mann, a production designer, to avoid being overshadowed by the Ferrari, Jaguar, and Lamborghini that also appear in the movie. The car underwent a Hollywood makeover. Some people might not be aware that only 7 of the 12 modified Mustangs that were manufactured for the movie made it through all of the stunts. The Vincent Thomas Bridge in Los Angeles was shut down for the entire day to make it possible for Nicolas Cage to drive Eleanor through an intersection in the scenario. It was the only time in Los Angeles' history that the bridge was closed to the general public. 9. Moonstruck. Our favorite crazy actor almost didn't appear in the romantic film Moonstruck. The producers weren't particularly satisfied with Nicolas Cage's version of Ronnie Camry when he first read for the part. Cher, however, was not having any of it and threatened to leave the film if Cage wasn't her co-star. Although Cher nearly declined her own role since she had just completed 2 films quickly and couldn't truly picture herself as Loretta Castorini, this happened. She also believed that the movie would bomb at the box office. Thankfully, it became a great commercial hit and received 6 Oscar nominations, with Cher winning 1 for Best Actress.
You come from my brother Johnny?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, we're gonna get married.
8. Vampire's Kiss. Nick Cage's mean face appears to have been set in stone even before the release of the marvelously bizarre comedy horror film Vampire's Kiss in 1988. Cage has said that the character of Peter Lowe has been one of his favorites, despite some of his facial expressions in this movie having a permanent home on the internet. He also asserted that some of his best work was contained in the deleted portions, over the bat used in the apartment scene. Cage and director Robert Bierman got into a fight. Cage requested that his assistant wander throughout Central Park in search of a genuine bat, refusing to cooperate with the special effects specialist, Phony Bat. Cage was so adamant that Bierman eventually had to warn him that if a real bat bit him, he would die, causing Cage to reluctantly accept the fake bat. Cage has no qualms about chomping on a live cockroach during filming another scene for the movie, like that wasn't bizarre enough already. Seven. Face Off. When one thinks of Face Off, it's impossible to avoid visualizing the unsettling mechanical bodies that were utilized to represent Nick Cage and John Travolta as they were figuratively having their faces ripped off, or to ignore Cage's insane look when he briefly joins a choir while costumed as a priest. In this absurd film, Cage's character Castor Troy is seen carrying 2 golden weapons with dragon handles, as Cage was born in 1964, the year of the dragon according to the Chinese zodiac. He was the one who came up with the idea for these weapons. Also, since CGI was not yet as popular as it is now, the majority of the action scenes were real. One of these is the instance in which Troy destroys a plane into a hangar to capture the perfect scene. 13 different camera angles were used during the shoot. Did you know that Travolta's portrayal of Sean Archer wore magnetic boots that were identical to those worn by Goombas in the Super Mario Bros. movie? 6. Raising Arizona. Another of Nicolas Cage's very first popular films was Raising Arizona. This comedy, which was published in 1987, is pure fun from start to finish. He was not, however, permitted to fully embrace his abnormality.
I think he's a damn fool, Ed.
Cage was not allowed to improvise any of his sequences or be wholly his own eccentric self because Joel and Ethan Coen wrote, produced, and directed the movie. Because of this, tension developed between Cage and the Coen brothers. Nonetheless, John Goodman, who also acted in the movie, is thought to have gotten along well with the brothers after the movie's premiere. However, Joel and Ethan faced more difficult challenges because of criticism they received for how they portrayed the state of Arizona. Several claimed that the brothers portrayed Arizonans as hicks with poor fashion sense. Things grew so heated that Joel Coen ultimately defended the movie in a statement. Nonetheless, this did little to appease the widespread resentment. If you are enjoying the video so far, subscribe to the channel for more contents like this. 5. Leaving Las Vegas. Nicolas Cage won the Best Actor Oscar in 1996 for his work in the film Leaving Las Vegas, besting Sean Penn and Anthony Hopkins, demonstrating that he is a truly exceptional performer. After losing his family and work, Cage's character, Ben Sanderson, relocated to Las Vegas with the intention of drinking himself to death. The novelist who wrote the story on which the movie was based committed suicide before a single scene had been shot, so the tragedy of the movie began even before that. At 33 years old, only after O'Brien's parents mentioned it did Cage learn he was driving the same type of BMW and wearing the same watch as the late author. 4. Con Air. Nick Cage's blatantly obvious southern accent and his long, greasy hair are probably the two most memorable aspects of Con Air. Or perhaps it's Steve Buscemi's eerie portrayal of Garland Green, who sang the song Whole World in His Hands with a young child whom everyone assumed would die. Although the characters for John Cusack and Steve Buscemi were written specifically for them, John Cusack ended up detesting the movie and declining to participate in discussions about it. Con Air is generally considered to be fairly cheesy, with phrases like "put the bunny back in the box" being even more so.
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
Nonetheless, some people might not be aware that it received 2 Oscar nominations for Best Original Song and Best Sound, but no one was shocked when Titanic, a fan-favorite blockbuster, defeated the film. Also, as was already established, Cage came up with the idea for the bunny scene and intended it to represent the suffering and loss that his character had experienced. 3. It Could Happen to You. The fact that the movie It Could Happen to You was based on a true story is generally acknowledged, yet the only aspect that is accurate is the police officer giving the waitress millions after winning the lottery. The two people who make up the genuine narrative were never romantically involved with one another and each got married. In lieu of a gratuity, Robert Cunningham and Phyllis Penzo jointly purchased a lottery ticket, which they split into 2 $6 million lotto prizes. They each chose 3 numbers, and when Penzo won, she purchased a home, a car for her daughter and her husband, as well as some travel. Cunningham worked for 38 years before finally retiring in 2018. With the millions he earned, he purchased a home where he is currently spending his golden years with his wife and 2 in-law sisters. 2. Matchstick Men. One of Nicolas Cage's best films is called Matchstick Men. He excels in it as Roy Waller, an OCD and Tourette syndrome sufferer who is also a con man with a nudge toward agoraphobia. Despite the film's quality, it essentially bombed at the box office and had very poor profit margins. Alison Lohman, who in the movie played the part of 14-year-old Angela, was actually 23 years old. Even the producer was unaware that she was significantly older than she appeared to be when she showed up for her audition disguised as a 14-year-old. The unexpected surprise came at the climax of the movie when Angela pulled off the ultimate scam and left Waller destitute after robbing him. Some of the crew members thought this was an unfair and depressing turn of events, but Ridley Scott battled to keep the sequence in the film. 1. Ghost Rider. It was almost certain that Nicolas Cage would eventually star in the Ghost Rider films based on a Marvel Comics character of the same name. The first Ghost Rider movie was a major success, earning $115 million in the North American box office alone. However, the sequel received negative reviews from both critics and fans. In 1992, talks were initiated between Marvel and Hollywood to license various Marvel characters for cinematic adaptations, including Ghost Rider. Despite 2 failed attempts to make a movie, the second of which involved Johnny Depp as the lead, the project fell apart. When Cage was eventually cast in the role, he nearly dropped out of the project after the director left and he was offered a role in Hellblazer. However, the writer insisted on casting Sting in the Hellblazer role, and Cage ultimately returned to Ghost Rider. Sting did not end up playing any role in Hellblazer, and Keanu Reeves was cast in the lead role, with the movie being renamed Constantine. In an interview about Ghost Rider, Cage revealed that his performance was inspired by his pet snake, which would turn its back on him and sway back and forth, inspiring Cage to spin around and leap at his victims in the movie. Subscribe for more.